My name is Nicole Santiago and I am a queer dyke. A little over 4 years ago, I was coming out to different members of my family, and I came out to my cousin, and his only response was to hug me and to tell me he was very proud of me for being open and being who I was. And to me, that was just so different from even coming out to friends. When you're a young person coming out, the last thing you want is someone to pry into your life and ask you questions, maybe questions that you don't even have answers for, questions about maybe moments that were really sad in your life when you had to hide who you were, and to have someone who simply wanted to give me a hug and was proud of what I was doing was probably my best coming out experience. As an LGBTQ person, I've experienced hate on a personal and not personal level. A lot of times I've been called slurs, but to me, nothing really affected me until Orlando happened last year. I was in a bar that same night, in a queer bar with a bunch of friends, and I didn't find out until the next morning, and I had to drive up to San Francisco, and I spent the entire day crying. It affected me not only as an LGBTQ person, but also as a Latina. It was devastating for me because I felt so personally attacked at that moment that someone wanted to kill so many members of a community, of two communities that I'm a part of. And the reasons why he did it, or why, that to me didn't even matter. What mattered was that here was a manifestation of some of the hate that we experience every single day, of things that people are told about gay people. I went home, and the gay Latino dynamic is a really tough one. Growing up in a Latino family, most gay kids, it's more like don't ask, don't tell. Your parents don't really want to know. Your family wants you. That's fine if you're gay, we love you, but we don't really want you to tell anybody. And so to see this happen to that community was really sad, and I kind of wanted to see the reactions that my family would have. And I was going back home that week. I remember a couple of days in, my dad, who's like a tough Puerto Rican Bronx dude, we're walking around, and someone had created a mural that they were having people place their handprints, and they were gonna send it to Orlando. And he pulled over his car, parked in front of a fire hydrant, and went up so that we could put our palms on it. We never talk, my dad and I don't really talk about being gay or anything like that, but just to see him do that, to see if someone who came from the background that he did could send love to the people in Orlando and could relate to this, it just made me have a little bit more hope in the world. For as long as I can remember, lesbian women and queer women in television have been dying. They have terrible endings. And this year, the mainstream media finally caught on and started talking and having this discussion about what that means to queer women in real life, how that affects teenage girls watching maybe the only versions of themselves that they know. Maybe they don't know any other queer people. This is like the only queer women that they are seeing, end in such brutal ways. So I decided to create a web series about lesbians where they would live forever. They're vampires and they live forever. When I did it because I wanted an alternative to what we currently have in television, but I did it for me and for my friends. I didn't realize the impact that it would have. Suddenly it started gaining momentum, and we did a crowdfund, and we started realizing that we were getting money from places like Australia and Sweden and Mexico. And that to me was so inspiring, because girls were coming out and saying, like, this is what I want, this is what I need. Like, I didn't even know that I could have something like this. And just to me, to see the impact that you can have with something so small, especially on queer women where we don't have a lot of representation in the media, and something so small like that does affect the community. It does affect teenage girls. There could be a teenage girl in her room who is considering suicide, who sees a happy ending and then just has a little bit more hope in her future. And that to me was inspiring, just to see young women, 13, 14-year-olds, find inspiration and things like that. The night of this election was a tough one. I spent it with my friends, we cried, we hugged each other, and we knew that nothing would be the same again. The only thing that I hope for us is that we continue being who we are. we continue staying a strong community, and wherever you are, find community, whether it be meetings, groups, school groups. If there aren't school groups in your school, find an online community and don't lose hope. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.